brow. He made a real difference.
How good does he look?
Can see him becoming a cult hero.
Cult hero, yeah, straight away.
It's too much. People really do need to calm down. It's the first game of the Premier League season.
Everybody knows, what a predator Ruud van Nistelrooy was. I think, to be fair, he looks like a future Manchester United manager. So I'm not quite as negative if it did. I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm not as negative as you two.
Crookie, in the last 3 seasons, he has
ridiculous.
missed 100 games.
Take it all back.
Unbelievable.
The whole thing sounds ridiculous.
Well,
but
that's
I
true,
can't
though.
take
It
it.
is true.
I was in tears. I was ripping posters off my bedroom wall that night. Derek Cantona just literally quit. Nobody
that's
saw
it,
it coming.
gone, yeah.
His signing transformed the football club, transformed the history.
Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, the brand new TalkSport show dedicated to all things Man United. I'm your host, Flex, and after a somewhat mixed performance according to our producer, but we're saying it's a positive performance against Fulham, Erik ten Hag's side are off to a winning start in the Premier League. And after their debut last week, we've invited the expert panel back to debate and digest the week that's been at Old Trafford. So I'm delighted to welcome TalkSport's chief correspondent, Alex Crook, and reporter and Joshua Zirkzee enthusiast, Angelina Kelly. Did you choose that? Joshua Zirkzee enthusiast? He was last week, got a debut goal.
I can neither confirm nor deny, but I don't have an issue with being a Zirkzee enthusiast.
Have you got a little subtitle, Crookie?
I probably had many down the years. But, I'm sure we'll find one over the next
Ten
few
Hag
weeks and months.
enthusiast.
Yeah,
That's
why
what we're
not?
going with.
Why not? Little bold genius superfan.
Angelina, let's start with you. You said last week that you were expecting exciting things from Joshua Zirkzee. That's what we saw. How much better could his debut have gone?
Maybe if he'd have been able to score another goal, perhaps. But no, I thought it was great. What more could you ask for? You score, and he spoke about it after the game, scoring in front of the Stretford end, that whole link with, when Ruud van Nistelrooy made his debut against Fulham, he was on the score sheet, Zirkzee's on the score sheet. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed his performance. And that's exactly what you want. I think we've spoken before about, Rasmus Højlund and the pressure that he was under last season to get goals. And I think to start your season like that with the winning goal, the opening game of the Premier League season, amazing. And I just want that momentum to continue for him now.
Yeah, when your striker scores straight away, first chance, that's what you want, isn't it, Crookie? Because we saw last year, like Angelina saying, that Rasmus Højlund went ages without scoring. We think he's ever going to score in the Premier League, but Zirkzee off to a flyer.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when they paid big money for Andy Cole, and he took a while to get going in terms of goals as well. So I think as a striker, probably more than anywhere else on the pitch, a positive debut can make such a difference. He's already endeared himself to the United fans. He can go into this game of the weekend with his chest puffed out, full of confidence. And it wasn't just a finish, by the way, which was really intricate. Is that the right word? Intricate and really instinctive. But it was the fact that he actually started the move. He dropped deep into midfield. He sprays the ball out to the right-hand side, and he's got the mindset to get in the penalty area. And he wanted it more than anybody else. So, yeah, really positive start.
And you know what else I noticed after he scored? I don't know if you guys saw, well, you would have. There was this sort of new confidence about him where he came into midfield just off the 9 position, had a couple of touches to calm the ball down, little layoffs. He could have got excited and tried to play a through ball to Rashford, but he thought, no, I'm just going to keep the ball, and just made some sensible decisions. Because actually, the first 15 minutes he was on, I was like, he touched the ball. He's probably thinking, well, this is busy, this is quick, I can't get a touch, we don't really have the ball. But as soon as he was brought into play, it wasn't like he was overexcited and snatching opportunity. It's like, no, just play the right pass, which is the correct pass to Casemiro, get myself in the box, and not be overstimulated by the occasion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. I thought it was good to see. You don't want to see people kind of getting too ahead of themselves and taking it in their stride and everything. So, yeah, no, I thought it was brilliant.
Crookie, after a difficult campaign last year, obviously, we were shocking, mate. We were terrible. We know that. But how important was it for us to actually get off to a good start, regardless of the performance, which we'll talk a little bit about, but just to get a win?
No, in some ways, I think the performance was more important than a win, because I was at Old Trafford on the first day of last season when we scraped past Wolves. Probably could have been 5 down. It should have given away a penalty in the last minute. And actually, even though we got the win, I came away from that game thinking, well, this is not quite what I expected to see, particularly after the previous season when there were big signs of progress under Erik ten Hag. So I think the fact that the performance for me was much improved. It wasn't perfect. There were still too many gaps in midfield. We probably still afforded Fulham too many chances. But in terms of playing the ball out from the back, there were a lot less long balls from the goalkeeper than we became accustomed to last season. I thought Mazraoui made a real difference.
How good does he look?
Can see him becoming a cult hero.
Cult hero, yeah, straight away,
really
cult hero.
I loved him. For 10 minutes in, I said to my lads, I was watching the match with the kids, and I said, he looks a player.
What is it? What was it he was doing where you're going, actually, I can see it?
He did the simple stuff well, in terms of breaking up play, wasn't afraid to get into a tackle, but he passed the ball well, and he played much more like a modern fullback than Aaron Wan-Bissaka did in terms of getting involved in the play going forward. So I liked his performance. He was only on for a few minutes, but I quite like Matthijs de Ligt's performance as well. I think he's someone who believes that he can revive his career at Old Trafford. Xerxes, we've mentioned already. So I think there are positive. Harry Maguire played well.
He was brilliant. And you know what? He's come through so much, hasn't he, Angelino, in terms of turning his United career around. Yes, the captaincy was probably the right thing to take it off, and the spotlight and the scrutiny just so much. But actually, since he's had that captaincy taken off him, he's been fine.
Apart from that dive.
Yeah.
It's a bit cheeky, that.
You know, when he did that,
naughty.
I was just
naughty.
Harry, you're huge. Like, we know you can't really disguise
what we're playing
your
at here, yeah.
But yeah, apart from that.
Apart from that, no, I agree, and I almost kind of rate the fact that he's like, no, guys, I'm still here.
He's stubborn.
Yeah. I actually like that stubbornness of, no, I'm here. I'm going to still be turning up. I'm going to still put 110% in. I actually really rate that from him. And yeah, I think, like you say, the captain's thing, definitely the right decision. But overall, I think he's been, when he's been called upon, he stepped up to the plate. And that's all what more can you ask for from him at this point?
Yeah, in terms of, shots on target, Manchester United had 5 to Fulham's 2. 56% possession, so, more on the ball. That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
Not just a game of basketball where all of a sudden we're on the back foot at home, getting less percent possession. I still saw, I don't know how you guys saw it, and you guys watching as well, like this negative connotation again. Like I saw some people afterwards, oh, United were lucky. Oh, you're so fortunate. Hang on a minute. Last time I checked, Onana made one actual save from Kenny Tete. I think that ball he should have saved it.
That was a save for the cameras, wasn't it?
Save for the cameras. Then there was one where it deflected off Kobe's shoulder, wasn't probably going to loop in, but had to make sure. But yes, we gave up a couple of dangerous opportunities. It wasn't perfect. But again, there was this narrative that, well, Man United are exactly the same as last year. Like I said, we were all there at Wolves last year, or we saw what happened. We got absolutely rained on. Matheus Cunha, Cunha had the joy of Old Trafford. He was bearing down on goals, shot after shot after shot, and Varane just came up with a lucky header to let us win. That game was not what we saw against Fulham, was it, Chris?
No, it wasn't. And you look at even in the first half when people were saying they weren't very impressive, Bruno Fernandes has missed 2 golden chances that actually, if Rasmus Højlund is fit or a number 9 is fit, you like to think that they'd have been put away and it would have been a much different complexion at half-time. There were people on TalkSport, our pundits, saying, well, it's the same old United. I thought that was quite a lazy narrative.
Lazy. I'm actually sick and tired of it. Like, it always happens, not just here at TalkSport, but other media outlets. And you hear it as a United fan, and it just frustrates you because I feel like people want to see us just be bound to compound the misery. Like, don't look forward. Don't get a little bit excited about some of the changes that have happened at the club, the forward thinking, some of the players you've brought in. Don't be a little, happy that actually in the first 20 minutes, I was like, it's sitting off a bit here. But after that, Mason Mount's initiating the press. We're high up. Kobbie Mainoo went under the radar in terms of how many times he regained possession. People not talking about that. Casemiro, like, we're asking for a player to have a redemption arc. Yeah. He was good.
What I find odd, and you touched on it a little bit last week, is the number of people waiting to hammer Erik ten Hag. There's one high-profile former British television presenter on Twitter who seems to make it his favourite sport just to batter Erik ten Hag. And I don't really get it because I think he's handled himself with dignity. I think he's very polite to the media. I think a lot of people appreciate that he's got a very difficult job in trying to revive this sleeping giant. So I don't understand the hate. But listen, it's the old slogan, isn't it? Hated, adored, never ignored. So maybe it's Manchester United's past success
100%.
that people are still struggling to get over.
I've had conversations with Gabby Agbonlahor. He just, at least he admits it. He says, they almost ruined my career in terms of like, I couldn't get a look in. When I speak to Benty, same thing. He's like, we was beaten on the coach on the way up. And there is an element of like, people are enjoying it so much that Man United have been poor for so long. and they want to see it continue.
Yeah.
And they might criticise, as Angelina of saying, look at that club, no one's running it properly, there's no people who make the decisions. Now we've got people in there who are trying to make good decisions. They still are trying to batter us.
People are always going to have a problem. Like, the bitterness, like the hate, it's too much. People really do need to calm down. It's the first game of the Premier League season. I don't think anyone was expecting. I mean, even Erik ten Hag said we're not 100% ready.
And people latched
And they jumped on that.
They
But
did.
of course,
Not allowed to say that. Even Pep said it, and it was fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, you look at it, you've had pre-season, but you've got new players coming in, you've had injuries, you've got all this stuff going on. I don't think if you asked any Premier League manager, they'd in their heart of hearts be like, we're 100% ready, because you don't even know what you're kind of rocking up to with this Premier League season. So I didn't like when people were jumping on that, I agree. But I just think people just want to see Erik ten Hag fail.
But I don't get it. He's a nice bloke. He's a nice guy. Just give
people
him some
want
time.
to see him sacked before Christmas. People are desperate for it. And I walked away from that Fulham game. I actually thought at times it was, I would assume, for a neutral. It was quite entertaining. It was end-to-end football at periods. There were a few lulls, of course, but I was really happy with it. I think there were way more positives than negatives to take from it. There weren't as many occasions where, like last season, you sat with your head in your hands thinking, oh my God, what is going on? Stop. No, this is horrendous. And it wasn't that kind of, that feeling of dread watching it. There were actual periods where I enjoyed it. And I just think we've just got to focus on that and, stay in your own lanes, guys.
Block out the noise.
Yes.
Block out the...
I was at Arsenal on Saturday, and they beaten Wolves reasonably comfortably, but actually the performance wasn't much different. And Wolves had two
Second
massive
half.
opportunities to get back on level terms. But everybody said, oh, professional job from Arsenal, well done. Night before, similar performance, same old United. It is bizarre.
We see Liverpool. Were Liverpool lucky that, Ipswich didn't take their chances and they were on them? And Arne Slot said, we weren't winning enough duels. And luckily Ipswich ran out of steam and the quality shone through. But again, nobody's really drawing parallels to that. But listen, like you said, hated, adored, never ignored. Ruud van Nistelrooy. How big is it having him back and just the aura of him? You saw him after the game, sort of high-fiving players, embracing players. How good is that seeing? What sort of impact do you think he's having behind the scenes?
Well, I think it's the respect that he commands, not just from the terraces, where obviously he was an absolute folk hero for United fans, but the players as well. Joshua Zirkzee spoke about playing under Ruud when he first joined the club and what he could learn from him. And everybody knows, what a predator Ruud van Nistelrooy was, but he's gone away. He's learnt his coaching role in the Netherlands, and I think, to be fair, he looks like a future Manchester United manager.
He's made a good account of himself.
Do you think he could be?
Do
you think he has that in there? I mean, one season at PSV, yes, but do you think he has that in him?
Why not? I think so. I mean, I've spoken to a few United fans that have said, oh, you can see it, can't you? Like, Ten Hag ends up getting sacked and it's Ruud van Nistelrooy that comes in. Sort of like, when Michael Carrick took over, but like even better and bigger and more shiny and exciting. No disrespect to Michael Carrick. No disrespect, but like that, but even bigger.
Yeah.
I think why not? I mean, there's a reason why he's taken this position at Manchester United. I don't think it's just to kind of sit there and be like, oh, look at all these strikers I'm helping. I think it's a great opportunity for him. Maybe he's even just looking Premier League in general. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a situation where Ten Hag departed from the club, and I'm not hoping for that at all. But if there was a situation, it would not surprise me at all.
It does feel very...
It's very Man United.
Well, very Man United.
Yeah, very on brand.
But also, Angelina made a good point there, quickly, in terms of just other opportunities. What would happen if, I don't know, sorry, Wolves fans, it went wrong for Gary O'Neill or something, and there was a vacancy by Christmas, or it went wrong for, I don't know, Leicester or whoever, and they wanted to, make a change. Do you think that could entice Ruud, or how do you see his strategy, or what his aims?
Well, I think the Burnley job was his if he wanted it.
Yeah.
And the fact he turned that down to go and be a number two, I think speaks volumes about the admiration he has for Manchester United and about the size of the football club. He knows that this is the biggest club in the world. In our opinion, Real Madrid might argue the case, but if you can go there and you can be part of a management team that turn around the Titanic,
exactly,
really, then he's only going to improve his credentials and improve his reputation still further. What I liked about him actually as well, not just the way that he embraced Zirkzee for his winner, the way that he consoled Garnacho after that missed opportunity to make it 2-0. Because let's be honest, all forwards miss opportunities, and Rube was no stranger to that. But I think that human touch impressed me as well. Maybe that human touch is what's been lacking from the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean,
the past couple of years.
I was on the pre-season tour and out in the States, and honestly, he was signing more autographs than the players.
Yeah,
like it was.
And they'll see that.
It was 100%. And it didn't have that like negative feel like exactly. He's overshadowing everything. He took time to speak to us in the media. There was a congregation of media there, and he was taking his time to talk to them, catch up in an informal way, sort of standing up on the pitch, having a little laugh and having a little joke. I was like, Rude. You're right, Rude. Yeah, you're right, sort of thing. But he was fantastic, and there was like an open training session, and obviously the players are signing autographs, but Rude is getting just as much attention, if not more, because everybody, again,
I can believe it.
Of who he is. So it was really, really good to see. But I think he also has this serious side that's like, I'm not just here, like you said, as just like to just serenade me because of like my history here. Like, I'm here to do a job. I want to help improve the squad, turn the Titanic around, and prove his worth as a coach, not just because he's got fine history with us. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Right, in terms of transfers, this is what we all want to know about, and you guys watching at home as well, transfers. Look, there's still a week left in the window, pretty much. There's still time for Erik ten Hag to make additions to the squad. Manuel Ugarte, that deal, Crookie, looks like it's progressing along quite nicely. It's looking like it's coming to some sort of conclusion. Players allegedly sort of said, it's Man United I want, that's the priority. We've tried to make it work with the numbers. PSG, there's a willingness to do a deal there, as well as us waiting for it. What's the latest?
Well, it's not done yet, as we sit here recording on Thursday afternoon, but talks are progressing, as you say. I think at the moment, an obligation to buy after an initial loan deal looks the most likely. I think United are still hopeful that maybe they can move a player out and therefore be able to do the transfer straight away. The issue has always been the fee. The valuation that PSG have got is slightly higher than what United want to pay for a player who, let's be honest, it's pretty clear he's not got a future in Paris. He's been training away from the first team, I believe, and as you say, has made it clear that he wants to move to United. So I think it will happen, and that really is the main focus between now and next Friday, because we saw those gaps in midfield again. Yes, Casemiro, I think, was much better than he was at stages last season, but he's still tired in the second half. So I think this is a potentially really important deal for United to get done. Still a possibility they may bring in a left-back, although maybe the debut from Mazraoui might just make them think twice about that.
He's got a dodgy injury record as well, so we've got to look out for that one. Angelina, how important is it for us to get Ugarte and fill the void in midfield?
You know what?
Or is there a void in midfield? How do you see it?
I think as much as I'm loving this new look Casemiro, I'm here for it. You don't want to put all of your hopes and dreams for this season on him, because I don't think it's fair to put it all on one player. At the end of the day, we do know that he does have the potential to get the tired legs. You know, could he get an injury, etc. So yeah, I think that a player like Ugarte is important. I know that there's a few people, because he went to PSG for, was it 60 million euros?
Yeah, 50 million pounds, yeah.
You know, I think a few people are looking like, oh, well, you've spent all this money on this player, why are you getting rid of him and stuff? And I've read a few things about like Luis Enrique, and maybe like they just don't really mesh. I think stylistically it works. I think he's somebody who is going to be good on the counter press. He's going to press as well. Like, I think when you look at those features of what he can bring to the table, I think it is a good fit for Manchester United. And yeah, I don't want to put everything on Casemiro. So if we can get a player in like that, then I think we need to go for it. And again, it feels like we were talking about last week, having certain people in these roles at Man United, the powers that be, it doesn't feel to me like this is just some panic, let's just try and get someone. This is someone who clearly wants to come to the club, who, like I say, fits with the style of play. And it just all kind of makes sense.
Does it elevate others as well? Does it give more competition? Does it keep others on their toes? If you're Casemiro, yeah, you have got 3 years left on your deal on a lot of money. But now, this kid's coming in from PSG, potentially to take your spot. Can it breed competition, Crookie?
Well, it can't do any harm on that front. I think everybody needs to be kept hungry. And maybe part of the issue with Casemiro last year was that he knew pretty much he was guaranteed a starting place most weeks. Interested to see what they do with Christian Eriksen. I think he might well be the fall guy, but is anybody going to come in and pick up his wages between now and next Friday? Doubtful, potentially. So, yeah, listen, the more competition you can get, the better, because United's injury record since the start of last season has been horrific. And already this season, you've got a couple of key absentees. So I think if you can try and get 2 players for every position, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I was doing a deeper dive into some of his stats, Ugarte, to just marry it up to what Casemiro's are. And to be fair, we're probably doing Casemiro a bit of a disservice because I compared it to last season, and obviously he wasn't very good last season. But I also did do it with the season before. And what I found is that in terms of where Ugarte excels is he doesn't lose the ball as much. So he lost the ball less times than Casemiro does per 90. The regains, how much times he gets the ball back, interceptions, the ground duels, how many duels he wins. And I looked at their heat maps as well, and he plays slightly further forward than Casemiro in terms of, if you think about what we're missing, someone who play a little bit higher up, so you are going to leave that space behind, but you've got the legs to get back in there and retrieve the ball. And that's been a massive Achilles heel for our midfield. So, of course, you have to take into context, he's playing in Liga for PSG, they've got the ball, it's a bit different. But, he's won the most tackles in the league in the last 2 seasons in Portugal and in Liga. So that's the type of player you're getting.
It is ridiculous, by the way, and maybe you asked about what my subtitle could be at the start of the podcast. Glazer basher, but then I guess we all are. But,
nothing wrong with that.
But the fact that United haven't got that deep-lying midfield star that every other big team, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe have got, and we've not had one since Michael Carrick retired. I mean, that is a dereliction of duty. I was saying 7 years ago, go out and sign Declan Rice. Look the difference he's made to Arsenal.
Exactly.
So they've got to get this deal done, but I trust Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox. They're good football people, unlike the Glazers and Ed Woodward. They know what they're doing.
Correct, and that's why those guys, the Glazers are, but that's why people like Ed Woodward and people who've been making bad decisions aren't here anymore. And just lastly on Ugarte, how much pressure does it put on Erik ten Hag in terms of that's another position addressed, it's strength in depth, you're looking him to probably come in and start, or at least feature heavily. How much does that ramp up the pressure on Erik?
I would like to think that he's already feeling the pressure. I want my manager to be thinking, I've got to get this right. I think he must be aware of this is do or die for him. He has to hit the nail on the head this season. So I think, maybe a little bit more pressure in that. I'm not saying that he's going to turn around and use excuses, but you don't really have an excuse of that position if you've got someone in who's strong and competent. But I think it's a huge positive because it's just going to hopefully make his life easier, make the team's life easier, and it's going to lead us to more success. So I think, maybe a little bit of pressure of, all these pieces of the puzzle are fitting now. I have really got to be on my A game, but that's what I want from my manager anyway. So, I think overall it's a massive, massive positive. And, Ten Hag wants players, United fans want more players. We're getting players that seem to be the right fits these times. It's not just throwing a ridiculous amount of money at somebody and just hoping for the best. It seems like it's been measured and considered. So, I'm really happy. I hope it does get over the line.
They seem to be getting their primary targets as well. You didn't hear about too many other forwards other than Xerxes. De Ligt has been on the radar for a long time now, but certainly since the start of this transfer window. And there's been mention of 1 or 2 other midfielders. Sander Berge, thank heavens he's gone to Fulham, by the way, and not United.
didn't fancy him?
No chance. But Ugarte has been at the forefront of their mind all summer. So that's been another Achilles heel of United, not being able to close out deals, not getting their top targets. So maybe that's a sea change as well.
Yeah, another rumour that we saw yesterday, or reports, Ben Chilwell apparently offered to Angela's laughing straight away. Ben Chilwell apparently offered to Manchester United, not in Enzo Maresca's plans, like a lot of players are not in Enzo Maresca's plans. Told that he's surplus. What sort of money would this involve if Man United were to stupidly get involved in trying to bring Ben Chilwell to the club? What sort of deal would it be?
Well, first and foremost, I broke this story yesterday on TalkSport. It's more that Chelsea have offered him to Manchester United than United have shown any serious interest at this stage. He was a player that they were linked with earlier in the window when maybe they were assessing the options at left back. I think Marcus Alonso was another who was on their list before. So I don't think it's close or likely at this stage. But what I would say, if you look at United in previous windows, Marcel Sabitzer came a little bit out of the blue because Christian Eriksen picked up an injury. Sergio Reguilon came in when Luke Shaw picked up yet another injury. So,
get him again.
If they do have issues at fullback, I'm not sure Ben Chilwell's the worst idea in the world on loan, someone who's proven in the Premier League. Obviously, he's got his own fitness problems, but this is someone a couple of years ago who was going to be a mainstay in the England team. So I'm not quite as negative. I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm not as negative as you two.
Crookie, let me tell you this, right? Ben Chilwell, right, has missed. You know how many
this is the problem.
How many games do you think he's missed in the last 3 seasons?
Go on.
Just give me a number. How many do you think?
How many has he played?
No, how many has he missed?
I was looking at like his Premier League seasons, and it's like in total Premier League seasons, you're in like 90 plus or something.
50
No, just in the last 3.
Just in the last
I reckon
3,
he's missed
right?
50.
50.
Yeah. Yeah, about 40 or something.
100 games.
Wow.
In the last 3, you just said his
That's-
whole total
so
Premier League,
in
he was like
Premier
90 or
League,
something.
yeah.
In the last 3 seasons, he
That's
has
ridiculous.
missed 100 games.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
ridiculous.
So, and we have Luke Shaw.
So I take it all back.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm just going
It is a bad
to put it
idea.
out there, and then we can discuss further. We have Luke Shaw, who has also missed
Yeah.
a ridiculous amount of games. On what planet would and I'm not even going to put this at their doorstep because I don't think they'd be stupid enough to do it, with all respect to Ben Chilwell. On what planet would Ineos be on if they think our biggest problem has been unavailability?
Yeah, you're right.
What should we do to
Yes.
solve it?
I'm
Let's
with you,
go
I'm
and
with
get
you.
the most unavailable left back, even more than Luke Shaw in the last 3 years.
Yeah. No, fair
And he's
point.
not as good as
Insane.
Luke Shaw.
Exactly.
Like,
and this is a guy
it's
who,
ridiculous.
in
I'm
England,
with you.
behind Luke Shaw. So
Yeah.
we're going to sign the guys behind Luke Shaw for England and doesn't get in. Then we're going to bring him to Man United. Unbelievable.
I'm with you. I think it's the most. When I saw it, I laughed like
100
I just laughed. The most ridiculous thing I've heard, because it's exactly like you say. We've got Luke Shaw. We've got Tyrell Malacic. Where he is, I don't even know. Is he
that's
all
bizarre.
right?
He's back. He's on his way back. But again, there's a long road back.
So let's bring in a third option who is also injured all the time. Not even as good as Luke Shaw, in my opinion.
100%
The whole
good.
thing sounds ridiculous. We've just bought a new fullback who can play left and right. We have Diogo Dalot as well, who can play left and right. I can't see Ben Chilwell. No disrespect to the guy. It's not like he's out there trying to get injured on purpose
No,
or
of
something.
course not.
Like injuries, it must be a very terrible thing to go through, to constantly be in that battle of trying to get fit and having things crop up. Must be very difficult, but I do not want to see that man's name on a Man United shirt. I can't take it.
Tell us how you really feel, Angelina.
That's strong.
I can't take it.
Well,
But
that's
I
true,
can't
though.
take it.
It's true. Like, he can't.
It doesn't
Crookie,
make
he
logical
can't come to
sense.
Man
No,
United.
no, I understand where you're
situation
coming
we've had, he
from.
can't.
I understand where you're coming from. Now you pointed out that, that's
It's staggering, isn't it?
That
It's not
got
until you
him.
actually.
This that got
So I was
him.
doing some
Incredible
bits and I
number
went,
of
hang on,
games.
let me. Because sometimes you can build up like a misconception or a narrative. Again, De Ligt's apparently injury prone and he's terrible. When you actually look at the record, doesn't quite stack up that way. So I thought, let me actually look at the figures.
Yeah.
Missed 100 games in the last 3 seasons.
And that's
Just shut
all
the laptop and walked off.
competitions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, hopefully Dan Ashworth's done the same.
Can we send him those stats somehow, just in case?
Ineos, I would go as far as to say, I don't believe Ineos will be stupid enough to do that.
It doesn't really fit the profile, does it?
Not at all. So let's see on that one. Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho. Would Chelsea be not stupid enough? Actually, that's probably a bit strong. Could Chelsea come in for him? Could he go onto continent in Europe? Is it really difficult for Sancho to find a move because of his wages and the package?
Yeah.
What does it look like him staying at Man United? How do you see the situation?
Yeah, I think he's more likely to stay than go. There were some loose conversations, from what I'm told, with PSG when they first started discussing Ugarte, but it doesn't really seem to have kicked on. The Chelsea link was immediately dismissed by its sources at Stamford Bridge. Listen, never say never with Chelsea because they're crazy enough to do some mad business between now and next Friday. But I think at the moment, Sancho should focus on knuckling down, trying to force his way into United's first team plans. I think it's difficult for him because you look at the competition in the wide areas. We're going to debate later whether Garnacho should come back in. Does that mean Ahmed goes to the bench? What about Marcus Rashford? So you've got Anthony who's promising us that he's going to have a better season. Maybe Sancho's fifth in line for one of those wing places at this moment in time.
I mean, that's insane. It does feel like he's just not part of what Erik ten Hag's trying to do. Is there any way? Can he have a future, Sancho?
Jadon Sancho have a future
Yeah.
at Man United? Oh. No, and it's one of those things I have hated watching this. I have found it really, really difficult because when we signed Jadon Sancho, I was so excited for us to have someone like him and someone who was so in demand as well. The fact that we got that deal, spent a lot of money on it, but we got that deal. We got Jadon Sancho at United. I thought it was going to be an absolute fairy tale, and I have to say, I do not like the way that he's gone about things. It really, really irritates me. I find it really, really disappointing. I think the whole social media stuff, listen, I understand people say, footballers are human beings, they have emotions, blah, blah, blah. You're paid to do a job. You have to be professional. You cannot just go on social media and start slagging your manager off and think that it's going to be okay. I actually rate the way that Ten Hag has dealt with it.
And he took a lot of criticism for that as well.
Yeah, and it seemed, we don't know what went on, but there was the thing of Sancho being sent over, it's mainland Europe to kind of have a bit of...
Yeah, that was the first thing. That was the year before,
yeah, having that training and stuff. That to me seems like a manager who's trying to empathise with their player and get the best out of them. I think, not that you are indebted to somebody, but I think to pay your manager back by then going on social media and doing all this stuff. I just think it's a really bad look for him. I don't think it's helped him in any way, shape or form. He already had this track record of rumours of him not being the most professional or being late or things like that. And he's just made himself look even worse. And on top of that, the times that he is playing, it doesn't seem to be slotting in. In my personal opinion, I feel like the powers that be have said to Ten Hag, let's just smooth this over. It's really, really sad to see, but I don't think he can walk away from it this wasn't my fault. He played a massive, massive role in his own downfall, and it's just, the whole thing is just sad and disappointing.
You're obviously a numbers man, and you look at the number of games that Sancho has played for Manchester United. It's not a handful. He's played a lot of games now in the first team, but it is a handful where you can actually say, well, do you know what? He played well today. I think he's been massively underwhelming, and in the last decade, United have made some dreadful signings, but I think he's right up there. It doesn't look to me like he's cut out for the Premier League. It doesn't look to me like he's got the attitude to play for a club of the stature of Manchester United. And I think the people who use the incident when he went on social media as a stick to beat Ten Hag with, I agree with Angelina. I think Erik Ten Hag handled that absolutely perfectly.
So you don't think it's a managerial thing like Sancho needs an arm around his shoulder?
I think he tried that.
He had an arm round
He tried
him,
that,
yeah.
And that's why Ten Hag was so affronted by the social media post, because he felt betrayed. He tried to coax the best out of Jadon Sancho. It simply isn't going to happen. But the trouble they've got is he's on massive wages. They want a big transfer fee. So he's difficult to shift. And he can become quite a negative influence in the dressing room.
PSG, Chelsea, Barcelona, some of the names that have been tipped, Juventus.
They're big clubs.
Big clubs.
I'm sure he warrants it.
Do you just from an ability and an attitude standpoint, as well as the financial? So does that just leave Jadon Sancho having to stay at Man United and just being a bit part player as that contract just sort of dwindles down? They can look for something next season then.
I think that's probably the way it's heading. But again, it's up to the player. You're back there. There's competition for places. Prove to us. Prove why Angelina was so excited when he first signed. Prove why United spent numerous transfer windows trying to bring him to the football club. Show your worth.
There's been another confirmed departure in Facundo Pellistri, who believed the fee to be around £5.1 million to Panathinaikos. Angelina, sum up his time at Old Trafford.
Did he have any time? I'm trying to think of a game. No, I think, in my personal opinion, this is just good business. I think we bought him, was it about £9 million or something? I think was roughly how much we paid for him. I think to sell him on for £5 million.
So you think it's good business? Don't you think we could have got a bit more?
I think two loans where he really didn't do much.
They were bad loans for him, though, I think.
Yeah.
Relegation.
Bad choices.
Yeah. Maybe I'm a little bit harsh, but I just feel like this is a really good example of Man United not lulling into this space of let's just give people more time. I said it last week, we need to get smarter with cutting the cord when it's the right time to end something. I think you'll know better than me that there's a potential buyback or
they've got
they had a big sell-on clause, which is the norm now. When a player leaves a big club.
I think all of that stuff makes sense to me.
In case he's really good.
But I don't. There was nothing I ever saw, and maybe I am being a little bit harsh, but there was nothing I ever saw that I thought, no, we need to give this kid more time. It's just not happened. Maybe the loans weren't the best loan moves, but two loans where nothing really happened. I think for me, this is a smart situation of, you know what, how much more time are we going to give this? It's not worked out. We can still get a little bit of money for him. Let's just cut this cord. If by some magical chance that he sets the world alight, then we could potentially revisit it. But for me, I think it was the right decision.
Crookie, less so on Facundo Pellistri and more so on our sales. do we need to improve in that? Because I do think a lot of Man United fans feel as if we're not very good at selling players. We find it difficult to command big fees like other teams do for players who haven't done much or got loads of experience and they're going for decent fees. Do you think we need to get better at selling fringe players or players who are surplus and get more of? Or is it just the nature of the beast because they're not performing?
I think it's easiest to do that if you're a football club who's upwardly mobile. You look at Liverpool, for example. I think they've done some brilliant business with the likes of Fabio Carvalho and now Sepp Vandenberg, who's going to Brentford for big money. But Liverpool have been challenging for honours over the past few seasons. United haven't. So therefore, the reputation of the club and the fringe players isn't as high. And I think everybody knows United, from a financial point of view, need to cut the wage bill, need to trim the squad. So therefore, people are going to seize an opportunity. So I think it all goes hand in hand, really. Once United are a successful football club on the pitch again, they're going to be a lot more astute in the boardroom as well.
Yeah, I think it's the same sort of, and also some of the loans, like you said, like Hannibal went out to.
He'll go as well. I think they'll sell him. He's another one who's
Burnley.
He's not good enough, is he?
He's not good enough. But when he went on loan, just the manager's moaning over there, saying he can't get in the squad. We tried to loan out Donny, gets injured. Then at Eintracht Frankfurt couldn't even get in the Europa League squad. You know, Zidane Iqbal gets sold for like 900k, something like that. So, yeah, I think it is that they're coming from a club that's not doing a lot. So we need to turn that around. This is an interesting one, Crookie and Angelina. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. We've heard today that Lenny Yoro has an agreement that he can go to Real Madrid. A bit of a rumour that he could go to Real Madrid within 2 years if the offer comes in.
Not entirely convinced.
I'm not either.
It would be.
I think that's Arsenal fans putting that on there.
It would be not very streetwise to pay that type of money for a talented teenager on the proviso you might only have him for a couple of years. You know, and there's no guarantee that Real Madrid come back to the table either. So, yeah, also, what's a gentleman's agreement worth? We've had a couple of big sagas in previous transfer windows. We had it with Harry Kane. When he wasn't allowed to leave, he claimed he had a gentleman's agreement, if you remember, that summer, and refused to come back to training for a time. So, unless it's written in the contract, which I don't believe it is, I think it's all paper talk.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that.
Yeah, it would be a bit of a strange one for me, and I'm going to go with someone who's way more of an expert on stuff like this than me. I think that, yeah, it would be a very, very strange thing. Like, can you imagine signing a player and be like, yeah, let's sign him, but yeah, you want to go to Madrid in 2 years? Yeah, that's great,
fine,
don't worry about it, no problem. Nah,
and all the noise coming out of Old Trafford is very much, he was a unique opportunity in the market who they see as a very, very talented player for 10 plus years. You know, they really see this as a big, big investment, not to have that big outlay and just let Real Madrid come in.
And again, like you say, with Ineos, like the whole, when we was like having that chiller discussion, you're like, I don't think that they would be that foolish. I don't think that these people that are in charge, maybe a few years ago, this could have been potential. But you would like to think again, the people that are in charge now would not be sitting and shaking hands on something like that. That's absolutely fine, no problem. So yeah, I agree. Paper talk, maybe.
In terms of Scott McTominay, you know, he potentially could be still staying. There is also news out there that, you know, he's waiting for Napoli and there's talks there. So an interesting situation there. If he did stay, would that be a bad thing for Man United? Because if he goes, we can get someone else, or would it not be the end of the world?
Well, I think if they can get Ugarte in and keep McTominay, I wouldn't be against that, because there's going to be a lot of games this season, particularly with the expanded nature of the European competitions. He's a player that Erik ten Hag, I think, has been quite steadfast in, that he doesn't really want to sell him. I don't think Fulham was ever really a goer, because that would have been a step down for the player. Napoli's more interesting. When you look at their reputation as a football club over the past few years, what they've achieved, they've got Antonio Conte there, a very well-regarded manager. But last I heard, they were only offering a loan deal, and I don't see any massive benefit to United in accepting that. He's one that could develop between now and next Friday, so we keep an eye on it. But at the moment, I think he's more likely to stay.
Yeah, interesting. In other news, Wayne Rooney will be returning to Old Trafford. He's back. Man United legend and Plymouth manager will be donning the famous red shirt again against Celtic in the Legends of the North charity match on the 7th of September. This has got me thinking about this, right? About who is Manchester United's greatest Premier League player in that era. Who is the greatest? Of course, there's so many. You've got Eric Cantona. You've got Cristiano Ronaldo. You've got Wayne Rooney. You've got, someone might say Van Nistelrooy. Someone might say Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, David Beckham. The list is endless. Angelina, we'll start with you. For you, who is Manchester United's greatest player of the Premier League era?
For me, and I'm going with like my generation of...
Yeah?
You're going to make me feel really old.
I am going to make you feel extremely old, yes, unfortunately. I think looking at like my... when I was growing up watching Man United, the person for me, it has to be Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, in the Premier League era, he's the only Man United player that's won the Ballon d'Or. I think that kind of says it all. The way that he came into the league, you know, this skinny kid that was trying to do all these tricks and everyone was hating on him and he stuck to his guns, and the goals and the memories that he created. I don't like the way that things ended when he came around the second time. I've said that before. Yeah. That really, really annoys me. But looking at the Premier League era when he was at his peak with us, the memories, the goals, I really enjoyed the cockiness and the attitude and all that type of stuff. I like to see that from a player who knows that they are world class and they are going to put on a show. I just think the greatest, you know, the absolute just greatest player for me.
I could tell by the way
he just brought so many amazing like memories, you know, for me growing up watching Man United. And I think just to be in that space, especially when you look at how poor things have been recently, that we had arguably, I'm not getting into a Messi Ronaldo debate, but arguably the greatest player to have graced this earth in recent history.
But because he wasn't that at everything you said I agree with. Yeah. But because his best work
was
and
with
his peak was at Real Madrid, and he's remembered as he's a United legend as well. But in world football, people just mainly think Real Madrid. He broke all the records, etc. Is it? Can we still? Does that affect it? Does that put a dent in it at all?
Makes it better, I think.
Yeah.
To have been to two of the biggest clubs in the world, the top two biggest clubs in the world.
I like that.
You've gone and you've
Angelina's
done it.
cooking, yes,
yeah,
I like that.
You've gone and you've done it on two of the biggest stages in the world. Yes, was he, you know, stats and numbers? Yeah, were there better things that maybe happened at Real Madrid? I don't really care about that. With both of those teams, he was absolutely magic. He was adored, and that makes it better for me. Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo, she's going with?
It's a strong case she's put forward. I think Ronaldo is the best player that I've seen in a United shirt. I was behind the goal against Portsmouth and he scored that free kick against David James, and that was probably the best goal that I've seen live, certainly the best free kick I've ever seen live. But in terms of my favourite player, my absolute hero, there's only one name. Eric Cantona.
He's going to say the king.
To me. Obviously, I'm a bit older than you, so that might be part of it, but really, he was the player who made me fall in love with football, the player that I credit my career with. You know, if it wasn't for Cantona, I might not be sat here doing the job that I do.
How did that, talk us through that?
I just fell in love. You know, again, you use the word the cockiness, the upturned collar. I used to go around with my collar turned up in the playground, the chip against Sunderland and that celebration when he just puffed his chest out, the goal he scored against Arsenal with the injured wrist and he had the strapping on and that celebration. The stamping on people, you know, not great, but the moments of rashness, the Selhurst Park incident. I just think he's
passion.
He's an enigma.
But then when you talk about longevity as well, you know, just went.
But even that, I remember that. I was in tears. I was ripping posters off my bedroom wall that night when it came up on the 10 o'clock news. That's how big a story it was. Eric Cantona just literally quit. Nobody saw it coming. And he quit because he was so in love with Manchester United. He couldn't bring himself to play for another football club. I mean, what's not to love about that? And that's before you even go back to that 92-93 season. His signing transformed the football club, transformed the history of Manchester United. Without that signing, who knows if that first title after 26 years would have been delivered. And the domination that followed. The Old Trafford that we see now today was built on the back of that 92-93 winning team. He's the one guy, I've never interviewed him, I've never met him, I've been to an audience with, and he just walks on stage and he stands there and the whole crowd sing his songs to him for about 5 minutes. If he walked in here now, and I've met a lot of famous people, I've interviewed a lot of famous people, he's probably the one person that would leave me starstruck.
TalkSport producers.
We need to make this happen.
We need this in
You
this
would
studio,
make my world.
Inside
You would make my world.
Fall into his knees, just being like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Tears, we want tears.
Exactly, tears of joy. Let's go to the class of 92 then in terms of Beckham, Scholes, Giggs, etc. How highly do they rank?
They're up there, aren't they? I mean, there's no question about it. You look at what they all achieved. Giggs for his longevity
Gary
and
Neville.
the number of titles he won. But I'm probably one of the only kids who actually did used to have a Neville 2 shirt.
Did you?
I bet they weren't that
Did you have the
popular.
curtains as well in the middle pine?
Not quite, although I could probably pull it off now. But yeah, I mean, all of those guys. Beckham for that comeback year, 98-99, off the back of what happened at the World Cup, his link up with the likes of Dwight Yorke and Andy Cole, the role he played in the treble, Scholes, who I think probably was most technically gifted out of that group.
Yeah.
Even Phil Neville and Nicky Butt, you know, they deserve an honourable mention as well. We'll never see that again.
No. For me, guys, Eric Cantona is the reason why I support Man United. 100%. I had a VHS of the rerun of Man United season when we lost the league on the last day away to West Ham. We couldn't get the job done. And we
He
drew.
was suspended, wasn't he?
And he was suspended and we couldn't get the job done. I remember Andy Cole missing loads of chances, etc. We just couldn't get it done and we lost the league. But it was the infamous Selhurst Park incident that season and he got banned. And I remember saying to looking to my mum and saying, because she got me this video, and I went, who on earth is that guy? He's just kung fu kicked somebody and lived to tell the tale and returned. Like, that's my team. So I support Man United because of Eric Cantona. But for me, it's Wayne Rooney. It's Wayne Rooney. Like, for what he did at such a young age and the sheer longevity of how long he did it for, I think he's arguably England's greatest ever player. Of course, we've got the likes of, Charlton, etc., and I understand why he gets that ranking. But for me, with what Wayne Rooney done at the football club, for how long he did it for, and the audacity of the man, of the kid who was basically a man, from 16 all the way through to when he departed Manchester United, captain, could do everything, and the way he was so adaptable. So we're going to get this kid called Ronaldo. He's going to be the superstar. No problem. I'll do something else in the team. I'll still help the team function. Getting Tevez, we're getting Berbatov. No problem. I'll manage it. I'll still be one of the star men. And for me, I think he's, like I said, arguably the greatest English player ever.
I think
I really do.
The only thing that tarnishes it for me, and this is why
I know what you're going to say.
When I pick a top 10 of my favourite United players, he struggles a little bit to make the cut.
Yeah.
What?
It's because of that summer when he tried to leave and go to Man City.
No, Crookie,
I'm
no.
with you. I am
guys,
actually with him on this.
Whoa. Stop.
I could probably take it further than that, but I think I don't want to upset you.
No, this is the hot takes. This is our safe space. Go on. It might not be safe after you say this.
Yeah.
What are you going to say?
I get everything that you're saying. I'm on board with you. I think that to come in at such a young age and everything, I think for me, it was the behaviour of I'm leaving, I want more money, all that type of stuff.
Fergie left him out of the team, didn't he?
Yeah.
What happened? Ronaldo wanted to go the year before. We got
that there were some inconsistencies with certain seasons and the amount of goals that he was scoring that I think people forget about. And for me, without trying to be too horrible, I mean, I'm going in already, but had we have had a Wayne Rooney that actually took care of himself and was on his A game with fitness and all that type of stuff, but we all know what happened every summer. We all know what happened every summer. He's admitted it that he would come back for the new season, probably a little bit overweight. You look at someone like a Ronaldo who is in peak physical condition and took it so seriously to be the best athlete in the world. Had Rooney had an extra 20% of what Ronaldo has, he would have still been playing for years to come. That's my only thing with it.
I don't disagree with that bit about looking after yourself. You can get a little bit more longevity. I've just listened to you two completely diminish a certified legend of football.
And I'm still with you on that. I still do think that he deserves the merit.
I just heard he doesn't get into a top 10 all-time Man United.
But I kind of
Favourite.
But I kind of get where he's coming from. I'm probably with him in this one.
You know what? If you don't want to go to the Legends of the North game, they should revoke your tickets. Wait, Crookie, your top 10 favourite Man United players.
Oh, here we go. I knew you'd ask that.
Can we just... Who is it then?
So in no particular order.
No particular order.
Here's 10 names.
Show me why we're in the game.
Cantona.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ronaldo.
Yes.
Keane.
Yes.
Schmeichel.
Yes.
Giggs.
Yes.
Beckham.
Yeah.
Scholes.
Yeah.
See, I used to love Andrei Kanchelskis, so he's got to go.
Andrei Kanchelskis!
I used to love Andrei Kanchelskis.
Crookie, you need to walk off set.
I've given you 7. So
Nev,
7. Nev.
Yeah.
Over Wayne Rooney. Or you're saying he struggles to get into the 10? You just said the net. Who's next? Carl Poborski.
I think
Sharp.
I think he'd get him a 10. He won't get him a 5.
Yeah.
He's not in the top 5.
Okay, well, yeah,
That's
clearly he
kind.
wasn't in your top
I
5.
think that's kind.
Yeah.
He should be number 1.
But as a kid, I love Kanchelskis.
Do you know what? I'm going to put this to you guys at home. Is this absolute blasphemy what we've just heard here on Inside Dave? Should they be allowed back next week? I can't believe what I've just heard. It's blown my mind.
We had a good run for 2 shows.
Oh my, yeah, we've had a good stint.
I've been to those Legends games in the past, by the way.
Yeah, they're really fun. Beckham, I'll tell you what, the one Beckham come back to for the
that was the one I was
anniversary
at.
of
Was it Bayern Munich?
Yeah. Oh my good. Yeah, the Bayern Munich one.
Yeah, I was at
I
that.
went. You can still do it. You can still play.
Gary Neville, not so much.
No, absolutely. But the Legends game is taking place against Celtic. It's always
John O'Shea
it's
as
always
well
lot
was a
of fun.
favourite of mine. I used to like Shea.
Nemanja Vidic.
Yeah, brilliant.
Vidic. Got
Evra.
time for Vidic. Evra.
Dennis Irwin,
Yeah.
No,
back in the day.
Rio.
Rio as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so all these guys over Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney can't get looking. Nani,
David
Valencia,
David
Yeah.
Bellion.
Michael Owen,
Yeah.
yeah, Mammy Doof, Macheda, iconic moments.
Odion Igalo.
Yeah,
He was a good
absolute
laugh, wasn't
disgrace to these lot. Now it's time to look ahead to Man United's next game. It's the 12:30 kickoff on Saturday against Brighton. And I'm delighted to say that we've been joined by Ryan Adsett of the Talk Seagulls podcast, who's kicked the door down in disgust because he heard what these two Man United fans were saying about Wayne Rooney, Ryan. We are going to talk Brighton, but even as a Brighton fan, Wayne Rooney not on an all-time 10 of Man United.
I was telling you, when I come down here, the one thing in my mind was 1, Wayne Rooney, but 2, just growing up in school. I'm younger than everyone here, but everyone was a Wayne Rooney fan. Everyone was a Manchester United fan. So yeah, that's a wild start.
Blew your
to
mind,
my
didn't
time
it?
here.
Insane. They're still not taking back their takes, by the way. They're still standing firm. Right, but on to the game. 12:30, first game at the Amex for your new manager, Mr. Hertzler. How are you feeling about it? You're sitting top of the league, 3-0 win against Everton. Title charges on.
Yeah, why not? I mean, no, I'm joking aside. I mean, it's a very exciting start, isn't it? I mean, the only real sort of question mark's been over the manager. I think when you look at the players we brought in, we obviously had that last summer where we lost so much. We lost, obviously, Caicedo, McAllister, as every Brighton fan's gone through before. We've had that struggle. I think we sort of learned the hard way last season, sort of back end, and we're playing under 23s and, you know, scraping by really towards the end of the season. We fell into the bottom half of the league, and I think when we look at it now, we've made the right replacements. I think our transfer window has been very good. I don't think it's over, which is what's even more encouraging. And yeah, we're looking very good. Everton was a very impressive performance. Obviously, had a bit of a shaky start first 20, but I'm very confident, put it that way.
Are you worried about this game? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you seem a bit tentative around this game.
Well, yeah, you look at United's results against Brighton, not just at the Amex, but at Old Trafford in the last few seasons, and they don't make for great reading. So I am concerned. I think it's a step up in terms of opposition compared to what we faced last weekend. I think Brighton have been really ambitious in the transfer market. I like the way that Fabian Hertzler conducts himself, that the players seem to have really invested in what he's doing already. They're a well-run football club. They're a well-coached football club. If you offer me a point now, probably take it.
Oh, no defeat. What do you mean?
I think it'd be a good point.
We won last time we were there.
Played
Clean
really poorly.
Yeah, we was
I
lucky.
remember. But no, I just think this is a difficult first away
It is.
game. 12:30 in front of the TV cameras, live on TalkSport, of course. Everybody is expecting an upset.
Right. So who do we need to start, Angelina, to make sure that there isn't an upset? Who do you want to see line up for us?
Yeah, I don't want an upset. I don't want a draw. I want this momentum.
You'd take a draw, though, wouldn't you?
Maybe.
This is crazy.
Yeah. No, I would.
Yeah, this is crazy, Ryan.
I don't want to take a draw. I want to get the win, and I am confident. I've got to be confident. I think, for me, I believe that Ten Hag will play Rashford. I personally did want to see kind of Amad Diallo on the right, Garnacho on the left, maybe for the Fulham game. That didn't happen. I can't see Rashford not starting. So maybe have Garnacho on the right, maybe him starting. I get what people say about him coming off the bench, and that is a really good position for him to be in. But I think maybe start him. I think I want to see our new signings. I would like to see Xerxes starting. I want to see De Ligt starting as well. I'm really excited to see how this De Ligt and Lisandro Martinez, like, let's get them playing together before someone gets injured, please. Can we just get a few games
Harry
with them?
played very well.
True, he did. But I think if this is going to be our centre-back partnership, we want to get the ball rolling. And we want to see how these two are going to interact. Kobbie Mainoo starts for me, of course. But yeah, I think change-wise, I'd like to see De Ligt starting. I'd like to see Xerxes starting. I think... I don't know how it works mentally, but I would like to think, you've just scored a winner in the Stretford End. You start in the first away game of the season, like, keep that building for him. So, yeah, Garnacho, Xerxes, and De Ligt, I think, would be
Okay, so a few changes there. Your side, I mean, we saw Minter come off with, precautionary head injury and a concussion substitution was used, but I've seen Hertzler now confirm that he should be fine. I mean, he looks the part, doesn't he?
He's some player, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, he's quality.
Annoyingly, you've done it again.
Done it again. Brighton have done it again, and we've come to a United studio and somehow got everyone a little bit nervous, which I find quite crazy, being the Brighton
They can
fan.
speak for themselves. I'm not them.
But no, it's just a sign of how far it's all sort of come along, and now we're coming to Manchester United and almost being one of those that could even be tipped as favourites if you look back on the recent past record. I think, yeah, first team wise, obviously Minte's been a very good player for us. I'd expect João Pedro probably to be leading the line. It depends on, I think Welbeck personally should still start. It depends on how quickly we want to implement Jorginho Rutter, obviously, who we signed from Leeds this week.
Is he through the door now? He's in?
Yeah, he's in.
Right.
He's confirmed. There could be a few more as well. So we'll see if they're sort of in before the end of the week at the time of recording this anyway. Whether that'll make a difference to the starting 11, I get the sense that Hertzler might be one that wants to keep it a little bit more cautious perhaps than De Zerbi, just threw sort of stuff at the wall really. I think Mitoma and Minter wants to watch on your end. An unbelievable duo. I think this season you're really going to see it. Midfield-wise, obviously we're looking a lot stronger than last season. Weaver is filling that gap, which we massively lacked last season with Caicedo's sort of absence. Physically a lot different, I think, is what you'll notice with Brighton. Still good in the build-up.
In there, mate.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, I think it's the Hertzler way. I think he wants a little bit more press and he wants that little bit more physicality, probably is the word I'm looking for. He wants players that aren't going to be so probably easy to get through. I think when you saw us last season, we conceded a hatful of goals in a lot of games. And that was a lot of that was down to, sort of a passive midfield. It was quite easy to get through. And I think once we got hit once, we got hit 3 or 4 times in the space of about 20 minutes. And I think that's going to be something which the club looks at this
I know
year.
it's only been one game, but obviously you would have seen pre-season and have a better idea of what Hertzler's trying to do in the setup because you've obviously covered it. What are the differences? Are we going to see Brighton maybe not on the front foot as much, not vacating dangerous areas or trying to in De Zerbi ball because that's what he was, very risky. Are we seeing a more conservative approach, a slower build-up, a quicker build-up, high press, low press? What are we likely to see?
You're going to see difference in terms of build-up, I think. There's not going to be so much emphasis maybe on the slow build-up. I think there still will be slow build-up at times. I think Brighton are a very controlling team. I think we'll always want to be a team that controls the ball and controls the game. That's sort of Bloom's philosophy, isn't it? He's always wanted to play that beautiful football way. But I'll be very surprised if it's that sort of same De Zerbi ball, if you like, because I think last season it did get a tad exposed, probably without the quality of players. You probably see a lot more high press, I said before, that physicality. You'll notice with the players that we're linked with, they're a lot more technical, a lot more ready to sort of be in a challenge and be ready to press and cover a lot more ground. So that's the Brighton you're going to see. A lot quicker on the wings as well, as you mentioned, Minte.
Rapid.
Pace
Gallo
is
better be
something
ready.
that Brighton have not seen. And we only scored, I think it was 1 counter-attack last season. We already scored 2 against Everton. So you're going to see a different Brighton, but a very, very good one.
I mean, for me, I look at, obviously, Wan-Bissaka leaving, and I just sort of had this sort of pre-written down statement of what will happen as soon as a decent win. Mitoma, actually, because I remember Mitoma actually saying how difficult he found it against Wan-Bissaka, in that FA Cup semi-final and just the games they've had against each other. And now it's going to be Mazraoui. I can just see United fans maybe just losing their head a bit if Mitoma gets by a couple of times. Like, just keep calm. Don't be like, this is why we shouldn't have sold down Wan-Bissaka. Because like you said, Crookie, the way he plays the game and going the other way, and against a team like Brighton, you need to be technically sound. And we also need to remember what we've added to the squad.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be another test for Mazraoui so early in his Premier League career.
Big test.
But I think Martinez has got a big role to play on the other side as well, because there was one instance, wasn't there, where Traoré gets in behind, leaves him for dust. Didn't do it a second time.
No, he didn't. Sent him to the gym after that.
Martinez had his number, sent him to the gym. So I think he's going to have to get back and help out Dalot. In terms of what United are going to have to do to try and match Brighton, I think they've got to match them physically. They've got to match them for effort, which they've not always done down at the Amex. There's been some stinking United performances in that respect. They've got to earn the right to play. They've got to silence that crowd who are going to be bang up for it. First home game of the season, new manager in charge. It's a challenge.
It is, and it's something that we've seen from us, Angelina, isn't it, in terms of our mentality away from home. Well, even at home last year, because last season was so dreadful. But it was a similar start last year. It was Tottenham away was the first away game. Then it was Arsenal away. So some tough games early on for us this season, but we've got to stand up and be counted. We have to get a good start.
100%. And I think we spoke about it last week, with that Community Shield. Result didn't go our way, but there were a lot of positives to take from it. Fulham, we got the win. As much as people like to, say that it was, mediocre, Man United are exactly the same as they were last season. We've said that there were, again, positives to take from it. I think, and I've said this before, it's very important for us to get some really good games under our belts, to get wins, to build a bit of momentum. I keep saying it about building momentum, but it's so important. And you also are looking at that Liverpool game that's on the horizon. You want to be going into that in the most positive mindset. This will not be an easy game. Of course it won't be.
Never is there.
But you've got to have that mindset. Like you say, you've got to go into this game with the right attitude. And I think, little things like that can be game changers for us. So I think it's so important, this game. It's a really, really big game.
But before we lock in the predictions from all of you, Ryan, I just want to ask you, from a United standpoint, who are you most worried about? Who do you look at and go, if we don't keep him quiet, it's going to be a long day?
It's a good question, really, because I think it's easy to overlook a lot of United players at the moment. I think it's easy to get a bit complacent. I think, obviously, when you look at the likes of, obviously, Bruno Fernandes, your big players, your Garnachos, I think that's where it's always the worry is whether they turn up. Because there's so many times, particularly United, you've come to the Amex, or come to any game, really, against a team that's a small club, which I don't mind saying, and you've sort of just not had them players turn up. And that's what always gets me. I don't really look at the United team and think I'm really worried, because the pressure's not really on us to be worried about them. Obviously, I'm worried about the players you've got because they're good. And then they're supposed to be. They're Manchester United footballers. But I just sort of look at it and I think, well, the way we're playing at the moment, we're sort of ready for it. You come into Brighton, and so many times, as I said before, especially on a 12:30 kickoff, by the way, it's been one of them sort of edgy situations where they don't quite look up for it and there's not quite that same energy. Obviously, I'm worried about Bruno Fernandes. Probably always going to be my pick out because I think he's a fantastic player and when he wants to be. But too many times against Brighton, I don't tend to see that. It'll be interesting to see how Joshua Zirkzee does, though, because I do quite like the look of his finish the other day. But I quite like you mentioned Mitoma, by the way. You said about his Aaron Wan-Bissaka thing. I actually think it'll be a different Mitoma this season because you've actually got a bit more competition on the right and the left. So you might see a little bit of a different Mitoma from our end.
And he's had a lot of time injured last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he's out for 5-6 months. So,
obviously not great for him, but we know about his quality, and that for me is I agree with what you guys are saying. Like we have to stand up and be counted, because if you don't earn the right to play against Brighton, they will run all over you. Like you will get destroyed. It's as simple as that.
First goal's big as well.
100%.
If United can get the lead, give themselves something to hang on to, maybe invite Brighton onto them and try and use the counter. It's going to be, I think, be a very different game to the Fulham game.
I know you want to see Joshua Zirkzee start. I'll be honest. I think Ten Hag keeps quite a lot of the same.
I agree.
And the reason why I think he does is because actually, us as fans, obviously, we want to see, rightly so, get the new players on, come on, let's do this, do that. But he will look at it and go, okay, well, what were the good bits about Fulham that I wanted us to do? We were high up, we were pressing, we were winning the ball back. We just weren't clinical. So actually, the functionality of the team was fine. Do I want to tamper with that? So I think Mason Mount goes again. I think Bruno will start again in the false nine. I think he will bring Garnacho back in.
Yeah.
I think he will do that.
Maybe for Ahmad.
Yeah.
I got a feeling that Harry Maguire will continue.
I think it'd be harsh. You know, we came away lauding him on Friday night. If you take him out the team with the first opportunity, then again, what does that say for confidence? I think De Ligt will have to bide his time.
Which is interesting because of how good he is and we want him to play him. Now we're saying, well, let's wait for Maguire to get rubbish again first, you know, which hopefully doesn't happen as well because he's fantastic as well. He's been really good. Right, let's lock in the predictions. Crookie, scoreline, go.
2-1 United.
Angelina.
I was going to go 2-1 as well, but I thought you were going to go for a draw since you were going to take one.
Yeah, but we've got into him now. That's it.
It's got to be ambitious.
Okay, I won't go exactly the same, but I think it's kind of similar margins. So, you know what? Why don't we have a few goals?
3-2, you're going to say?
Yeah, I'm going to say 3-2.
3-2.
Why not have a bit of excitement, bit of goals?
Fernandez penalty after the whistle's blown for full time?
Oh, don't remind me of that.
Rules are the rules, mate.
I'll just walk back out.
Rules are the rules,
I'm
right?
done.
I'm guessing you're not going to go for United win?
No, I'd be completely wrong to do that, wouldn't I?
Yes.
Come on here and talk about a United win. No, I want to win the game, of course. I think it's going to be a difficult one, obviously a much tougher test than Everton was last week. But I back us at the moment. You're talking about Maguire, you're talking about sort of the same names that you associate to Manchester United. And I look at the new players we've got in, a lot of runners, a lot of players that are going to be prepared to stretch you. And I think the likes of Rutter, the likes of João Pedro can do that, Welbeck as well. So I'm actually going to go with a 2-0 win, which might sound really bold, but I'm very ready.
Well, I'm going to match you on that the other way because I think Man United are going to win 2-0.
Another clean sheet.
I think,
nice.
a lot of people are waiting for us to fall at this hurdle and say, they get humbled by Brighton next week, that lot. And I think we're going to prove people wrong. I think we're going to win the game. So, yeah, there you have it. That's all we've got time for on today's edition of Inside Devils. A big thank you to Alex Crook, Angelina Kelly, and Brighton fan Ryan Adsett. We'll see you next time.